Hello, everybody, and welcome to our next group channeling session where I'll be channeling Source, God, you, and me, and all that is, because all that is Source. And I am joined by lovely Patreon members. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. So without further ado, I'm going to go now into trance and bring forth oneness, Source. Dear ones, the power within you is becoming more realized in your present reality, in your conscious awareness. The awareness of how you are connected to all things across the cosmos is being more realized by you. There is a part of you who have searched for answers, part of you that have watched videos, have done research, have intellectually understood who you are and your place in the universe. But now, in the most, we would say, enlightened part of a human history story, is that part of you, that non-intellectual part of you, the part of you that remembers the inner knowing, that part of you, the spirit, the connection of all that is, that part of you is permeating into the conscious awareness in a greater intensity than ever before in our human history, where you are remembering who you are beyond the intellectual knowing, beyond even for some of you, the understanding in human understanding. And this can create somewhat of a distortion, somewhat of a, we would say, a part of you who is just starting to really understand how you fit into this reality. You see, there is a part of you who's trying to understand from the intellectual mind who you are and to understand how you relate to all beings in this reality and your purpose here in physical reality. Yet that part is trying to make sense of your world, but that part of you who already knows who you are is coming forth and telling you just how powerful you are. But understand there's that part of you, that intellectual part of you, that is also linked to your habits and your belief systems in the third dimensional duality environment, is at sometimes conflicting with this truth of who you are because of how you see yourself. You see that intellectual part of you, that part of you that is linked to those limiting stories that you are not worthy, that you are not powerful, and that you might see yourself as small. You see that plays on the greater unfolding of the remembering of who you truly are. So you see, there are, we would say, in terms of your understanding, there are two versions of you coming to the surface. There is a version of you that you have told yourself, a version of you that you have attached yourself to your identity and all the narratives that has allowed you to make sense of who you are in this physical reality. And this self-identity relates to your ego, relates to your upbringing, relates to, we would say, all the constructs of this duality environment. So understand that you have placed many attachments on this persona, on this version of you. And there's the other version of you, the true self, the source self, the you that knows that they're powerful, the you that knows they are limitless, the you that knows they are connected to every being. So you see, it is the two yous, the two versions of you that is now trying to come together to try to consolidate meaning, to try and understand who they are. So understand that at this moment, many of you are at this meeting point, so to speak, and you might feel certain, we would say, certain interesting felt physical experiences within yourself and certain emotional and we would say non-tangible symptoms within yourself. You see, for some of you, you might feel like you are out of place. You might feel that you are floating. You might feel that you maybe do not belong. or that you feel like you're in an in-between space. And that is just you going through this reconciliation of sorts. You trying to find meaning between the two versions of you. So you can smooth this interaction to allow you to have clarity on the truth of who you are by continuously to let go of attachments to the meaning you have placed in this duality, physical reality, knowing, however, that this physical reality is part of your story, and not to place significance over one version over another, because understand both versions are equally important, although one version of you holds truths and the other version holds untruths. You see, it is your journey here in physical reality to consolidate the meaning between the two. And by moving through the contrast between the two versions of you, it is here where you create deeper meaning for who you are in this physical reality. It is here where you understand your purpose as spirit being incarnated in physical reality. So it is about seeing the spirit in the physical, and by seeing the physical purpose in the spirit world, you see it is a union of the two, a consolidation and equilibrium of the two. And it is here where you can see the truth. It is about balancing both versions of you in the heart. It's about trusting the voice of the true self. That true self can only come from the heart, can only come from within. It does not come from the intellectual ego perspective. So you see here, it is about you being in a state of awareness, being in a state of the present moment where you can find the truth in this process on consolidating and making that equilibrium between the two versions of you, knowing that you are here to have an experience of duality. That is why you are here. If you do not want to have an experience of duality, you will not be incarnated into a physical world, you see. But on the other hand, this is how you expand in spirit. This is how you expand as a version of source, as unique expression of all that is. You see, this is how all that is expands you in both in physical form and spirit form. It is about having this experience in duality. So as you anchor and embrace your physical reality, it is about seeing the truth of who you are and using those lessons and applying those perspectives to your physical reality. It is that perfect equilibrium by uniting the two versions of you. And that is how you unite all the separated aspects of you. That is how you unite and consolidate the shadow self within you. That is how you heal, or the aspects of you that reside in vibrations of pain and fear. That is how you unite all the dimensions of all that is, versions of you, to remember who you are in oneness. This is the pathway of the human story, of the human race. Yes, you are much more than human, but you are here to have a human experience. You are here to straddle both sides and to we would say, anchor both versions of you into this physical reality, not for you to disregard your human self, not to disregard your spirit self, but to join in union with both versions of you. And when you can, we would say, anchor yourself and embody of these both versions of you, understanding the truths of who you are, this is where you activate more of your divine blueprint. This is where you understand and receive the clarity of the mission, your unique mission here in physical reality. Yes, we have talked about the greater mission, the greater purpose in physical reality, the purpose for you to be here in physical reality, for that to expand source and all that is by you having the human experience. But you also have unique missions tailored to your unique vibration. And that is why you go through your unique challenges, why you go through your unique narratives, why you chose your parents, why you chose the trajectory in which you were born here into physical reality, because this shaped your vibration, this shaped your journey here in physical reality. And what an advanced, joyous journey it is, an opportunity for you to remember who you are in oneness in this physical incarnation. Of course, and as we have spoke of previously, is that you are activating more of your cosmic self. So you are at a collective vibration where you are now activating more of that, we would say, spirit technologies, because you as a collective are in that vibration where you are merging more of the two versions of you into this physical reality that allows for, let's just say, a certain frequency resonance that's activating those higher technologies that has been stored in your DNA, in your blood, in your light body structures. Because you see, dear ones, there is no separation. So as you access more of the light body structures, because of the rule of oneness, the laws of oneness, you activate also that technologies in your physical incarnation. And that is represented in your DNA and in your blood. So you see, dear ones, everything is being activated, everything is being expanded. It starts from the molecular structure in your DNA, in your programming, and that filters out in your belief systems, that filters out in your light structures and in your vibration. There is a correlation between all bodies in this incarnation in physical reality. And you are here to remember and embrace and understand and receive this clarity. The more you embrace both versions of you, you see, dear ones, for many of you, you like to place importance over the spirit aspect and the metaphysical nature of your reality, yet you do not see the importance of embracing the physical nature and the physical lessons and the physical experience in this incarnation. You see, to evolve the spirit, you must understand the lessons of the physical world. So you see here, it is about the perfect union. It is about seeing the lessons and the expansion potential between both worlds. That is the key here. And you are here to understand this. And it's not about you needing to understand all the answers in the universe in this now moment. It's about you in divine time, just embracing whatever comes to you in your present moment, opening your mind and opening your heart, feeling your way through each moment in this physical reality. And the intelligence of your heart, the intelligence of your true self will give you this clarity coming from the heart, but it is to be felt. For many of you, you are still attached to we would say, the operating systems of duality and the old ways of exploring your physical reality. But you see here, this was warranted and this assists you to get to this point of human evolution. But because you have activated these higher technologies within you, your navigating system, the way now for you to explore this physical reality, for you to understand and to merge the two versions of you, to access, to activate, to embody more of your divine power, your cosmic power, is for you to navigate in this reality from the heart. Here is your anchor. Here is your antenna. Here is where you hear the voice from all the multidimensional aspects of you. It is here where you feel the way and hear the steps, hear the guidance. It is here where you connect to the source within, to the truth of who you are. Understand that when you are not exploring your physical reality from the present now moment, it is, we would say, a wiring of the biology of the human to work here in the brain, to utilize the habit system. The habit system is based on your biology. You see, when you explore physical reality through certain habits, this creates beliefs. it creates a way of operating your reality. We would say the belief programs within you has an energy imprint. It affects your vibration on an energy level. However, because there is no separation, it also affects the biology in the body. It creates a rewiring of the brain. Certain neural pathways become created in the brain. And this is why these habits are formed, and you might find difficulty in you breaking out of certain habits. It's because you have wired your brain to create certain neural pathways, to head in a certain direction, to see a certain perspectives. So this is why it takes practice and it takes conscious, we would say, awareness for you to break a habit, for you to create more empowering habits, more empowering beliefs. So it starts with you changing the perspective. And the more you change your perspective, the more that creates a habit, the more that creates a strengthening of a rewiring of the brain to see the higher perspective, to see the positive perspective, to see the empowering perspective. So you see, it takes time for you to grow that biology in the brain. And it takes, we would say, faith that with every time you change your perspective to see one that is aligned to love, to see one that is aligned to oneness, the more you change your perspective, the more you change your biology, the more you change the neural pathways in your brain. So it becomes more effortless, because once you've changed those neural pathways in the brain, that will become your new habit. You'll automatically see the higher perspective when you are triggered. You'll automatically see the oneness and the love and the truth of who you are when you're faced with a stimulus in this physical reality. You see everything is linked. Everything affects the vibration, and everything relates to every structure in your physical and spirit nature in this incarnation, in this physical reality. And the change starts from you, and it starts from belief. It starts with that perception change, not just in relation to your physical reality, but how you see yourself. If you want to really tap into the infinite power and the infinite intelligence of the true self, that knows that they are source, that knows they are oneness, that knows they are powerful in every single way, it is about you shifting your perspective to that perspective of your true self, to the higher self, however you like to label it. It is changing the biology by shifting your perspective. And yes, it might take time to remind yourself. And this is why we encourage you to practice this daily, to remind yourself often. And every time you remind yourself, every time you shift that perspective, you are shifting every aspect of your being to align to that remembrance of who you are. But as well as shifting your perspective, you must feel that. You must feel that energy of love in your heart. You see, there's only one part of the key here. The perspective is one aspect, but understand vibration is shifted through emotion. Yes, the thoughts help to, we would say, to access more of the biology. It does help to start to shift the vibration. However, the power of the heart, the energy is what creates the magnetism. It is the energy of the heart that, would say, amplifies the frequency that all relates to the totality, in your terminology, of your vibration of incarnation here in physical reality. It is the power of the heart, you see. It is your heart that creates a magnetic field. It is your magnetic field that allows your vibration to create greater influence in your physical reality, to manifest the purpose of why you are here into this physical reality. So you see, changing your perspective does help with your biology, but you can, we would say, expand on this and to allow the effects to grow more intensely and in your terminology, in your perspective, in a faster way. Although time is an illusion, you are exploring physical reality through certain universal laws and through certain time perceptions. So we encourage you to unite the two, just like the two selves, the physical self and the true spirit self. We ask you to also use those technologies of the perspective shifts and the felt heart energies. So every time you shift your perspective, we encourage you to focus on your heart, to visualize your heart opening. When you practice shifting your perspective to those aligned to oneness, we encourage you to play with your imagination, to play with your visualizations. Understand that when you tap into your imagination, you tap into God creation. This will assist you in your manifesting endeavors. This will assist you in understanding more of the limitless power of who you are as a God creator. Imagination is not mere make-believe. Imagination is you tapping into higher dimensions of creation. So utilize this. Use your God-given creativity. Visualize and play with opening your heart. Feel love within your heart. And we have talked about different emotions where there is less resistance here. Gratitude is, we would say, an emotion that has less resistance for many of you. Think of something you are grateful for in that moment, even if it is just you being grateful for a soul lesson that you are going through, being grateful for an opportunity to expand your consciousness. You can start from there. You can expand this in many ways. It is about you being conscious of opening your heart and you cultivating a sense of love. And there are many frequencies of love that you can draw on here. So when you can do that by shifting the perspectives of the mind, of the brain, of the biology, creating the union here with the heart technologies, you create brain and heart coherence. You are affecting then all structures of your physical nature and energetic nature, and it gives you the greatest potential to expand your energy field because it is the heart. This is your magnet. This is your attraction center. So it is here by cultivating both worlds, both technologies, where you expand your energy field. And by expanding your energy field, you're then consciously able to access the awareness of who you are in the greater cosmos, who you are in your true multidimensional oneness nature, who you are in your limitless expression of all that is. So as you see, it all comes to you, how you see yourself and how you see your reality and how willing you are to open your heart to be vulnerable. With practice, you change that biology and you shift your energy field. Never before in a time in your human history are you at a point like where you are now. You are at the point you are activating more of this dormant DNA, more of the technologies within you, more of your, we would say, transmuting the limit, we would say, the parts of the human narrative that are no longer needed in this stage of your evolution, moving into rainbow light body, moving into that crystalline body where the carbon-based structures of your physical nature are being transmuted because you're ready to hold more light within your cells. You see the carbon-based structure of your being. There must be no separation. So for you to hold more technology in your light structures, the physical structure must also shift to hold that correlating intelligence in your cells, in your molecular structures, in your physical body. So you see, this is why the molecular structure of the actual physical essence is shifting so it can hold more light, just like the light bodies and the DNA within you. There is no separation, dear ones. When one aspect shifts, so must the other. These are the laws of your universe. This is who you are. You are one. So you can ease this process and understand that any sensations that might seem new to you is a result of the shifting you, is a result of you shifting more into your true self, into the union of the purpose of why you are here. So embrace this moment, dear ones. Celebrate your journey here in this physical reality. You have reached a significant milestone in your human evolution. And you have done it because you have been here. You have been here in this physical incarnation, going through all your perceived challenges, going through all your soul lessons to allow your consciousness to expand both individually and collectively, to allow the collective vibration to be at this point in this present time continuum, to allow this to be so in this now moment. So everything that you are feeling and experiencing in this moment, know that this is all part of your evolution. Take a moment to reflect on how far you have come in your journey. Know that you are always supported, and know through all those times of perceived darkness, you have come out the other side because there is a part of you who knows the truth, because you know how powerful you are, even though some of you are only just starting to remember this truth for yourself. It is that guiding light within you that has led you every single step of the way to allow it to show you just how powerful and resilient and unconditional you are. That is who you are. You are love. You are perfection. You are complete in every single way. And you are now on this journey to remember this more fully for yourself in this conscious awareness, in this present now reality. And it is with such love that we come through to remind you of what you already know, that you are only just starting to remember more of this truth for yourself. Do you have any questions, dear ones?
I have a question.
Yes, dear one.
Just a bit of curiosity. We before the session started, Kimberley had some issues with the camera and the perception of light. I just felt an inclination to ask about this.
Dear one, understand that many of you, just like Kimberley, are activating more of this dormant DNA that we have talked of, activating more light structures within their being, having their rainbow light body, their crystalline body, emitting more of their energy in their physical reality. Understand that we would say, to anchor into the rainbow light body, there has been certain practices throughout your culture, throughout your timelines. But understand, like Kimberley, there are many of you now that is anchoring, embodying in that truth. And that is what you saw coming into this session. Understand that this anchoring of this new cellular structures that's being now anchored into your physical makeup, into the light body structures, and the light body structures allowing that frequency, allowing those structures to be created and embodied in this physical reality, we would say allows for others and allows for technology to pick up on these shifts. It might be subtle, and we would like to say that for many of you, you will start to see this more and more reflect in your physical reality. So this was, we would say, a reflection of this technology here today, reflecting on Kimberley's vibration, emitting this light, because this light is being emanated from Kimberley, and this, we would say, the technologies interact with these frequencies in such a way that also amplifies the light that's already being emitted from the structures within Kimberley's DNA, and also to do with the light body structures. So in saying this, we invite you all to be present and to play with this, to bring your awareness to this, to these actions that will occur for you in divine time. Do you notice shifts in your technology? Do you see shifts in others? Do you perhaps see the shifting of the energy, the shifting of the light, shifting of colors in your physical reality, whether that be within other people or within other, we would say, other aspects of nature in your reality? Perhaps you want to play and have a look at the back of your hand. Perhaps you want to play and have a look in the mirror and just play and get used to your changing being in every single way. This is now being brought on now for the whole human collective. So start to play and bring your awareness to the shifting vessel, the shifting energy structures that is happening for you all.
Thank you.
So any other questions today, dear ones?
As usual, you started the intro by answering a question I was working on, but I'll try to reroute it so we go a bit further. But my question was about the importance of being in the present moment and not being so distracted by our thoughts of, past events or worries about the future. And you touched about it during the intro, so I'm very appreciative of what you're saying. And I'm just wondering if you'd have any advice personally, like I definitely get carried away in my mind with past events or with worry about future. And so I constantly have to remind myself to breathe and come back to the present moment and trust and love in my generation of love within myself that, insight will come when it's time. Do you have any advice for us?
Understand that you live in a multidimensional reality. So dimensions of the past, dimensions of the future hold certain intelligence. We have talked about this. They hold certain gifts and insights for you, for your evolution. So instead of we would say, when you experience a dimension of the past come to your present, or dimension of the future come to your present, we invite you to see it coming to you for a reason. And not, we would say, with certain practices, there can be a tendency to ignore when these other dimensions visit you, and just to focus on the present and disregard those versions of you that is trying to communicate to you. So encourage you to embrace it when those dimensions come to you, but we would say not to dwell on it. We would say shifting your perspective to the reasons why it is coming up for you. For you see, your reality and all dimensions of you hold intelligence, hold narratives. Everything here is to assist you in your evolution. So understand there are certain, we would say, mechanisms in the physical complex, we would say, that allow you to be triggered. And for instance, when there is stories of the past that hold pain and fear, there is mechanisms within your human nature when you are triggered by a similar experience, dimensions of that past come to the present for you. This is just an example of the human structures and how you are able to access dimensions of the past. But understand, when dimensions of the past come to your present, it's not about you being able to push that away. It's about practicing, cultivating appreciation for those dimensions. Understand they are here to assist you in your healing journey, but understand from a higher perspective, there is no need for healing because all is perfect and complete. However, because you are having a duality experience, for you, until you get to that remembrance and understanding of who you are in oneness, we would say the exploration of a duality environment may call for you to unite and heal aspects of you in order for you to remember the oneness of who you are. So when the dimension of the past comes to your present, and this is why being in the present moment, we would say, is the most beneficial way for you to understand the intelligence of the multi-dimensions of you coming into your moments. So the dimension of you comes into your present moment. We ask you to invite this interaction into your present moment. Take a breath. Acknowledge that this is a version of you trying to get your attention, just trying to communicate with you. So just as you do the shadow work processes that we have talked of, when that other dimension of the past comes to your now moment, invite it, embrace yourself, embrace that dimension of you, because understand, even though that dimension might carry pain and hurt, it is also a key for you to understand some clarity, for you to receive clarity in the situation at hand. So understand there are messengers. Clarity comes in many ways. Guidance comes to you in many ways. Yes, you've got the guidance from the inner true self, the higher self, the source self, or your spirit guides and all the infinite intelligence of the cosmos that comes to you in your inner knowings and all the different ways that you communicate with intelligence. But understand intelligence also communicates through the multi-dimensions, whether it is dimensions of the past, dimensions of the future. We've talked previously of the intelligence of the future self trying to communicate you. Well, that also goes with the intelligence of the past self, the intelligence of the multi-dimensions that is held in what you perceive to be past dimensions. So it is about shifting your perspective by knowing when it comes into your now moment, there is a message for you. Practice your mindfulness, and you would have practice with this. When you do your meditations, you have dimensions of the past and the future coming to you. Perhaps these experiences of the past, or you worrying about the future, worrying about what to do next, worrying about things in your day. So understand everything is trying to communicate to you. It's the infinite intelligence that is always there for you. So when it's there, open your heart, open your mind, communicate with this dimension. Breathe. We want you to then picture a version of you associated to this past dimension. Perhaps this dimension of you is carrying sadness, is carrying hurt. Perhaps you sense it you sense this version of you in a denser energy. Perhaps the facial expressions are shifted. You see, use your imagination here. We would like for you to attach a persona, because this makes it easier for you to receive the information if you can easily align yourself to that visualization, to that perception that this is a version of you, not just in terms of energy, but holding infinite intelligence from the higher you that's also permeating from that. We would say that when we say lower dimension, this is in terms of density, but understand there is no such thing as lower and higher, because it is all infinite intelligence, and it's all, we would say, equal in terms of providing you empowering lessons for your reality. So use your imagination, open your heart feel the answers. For you see, the clarity will only come within your heart, but you must be prepared to be vulnerable to this emotion that this dimension carries. For many of you, it can be challenging for you to embody and to feel this energy once again, because you have heightened your vibration. For you to embody a lower vibration might be challenging, but understand this is only temporary. It is just for you to receive the information. And when you can open your heart and join with this dimension, use your communication abilities and ask, what are you trying to show me? What do I need to know in this now moment for my highest good? Just use your imagination, your creativity. At the same time, I want you to cultivate compassion for this dimension of you that's in pain, that is in a lower vibration, because this is a version of you. And as you do this practice, this version of you will unite, will transmute. When it will transmute completely when you understood the soul lessons and the messages that it carries. So you see, if you want to heal from the pain, if you want to, we would say, if you keep being triggered by a certain dimension, a certain aspect of your life experience, once you can understand that infinite intelligence and the lessons it carries, you'll no longer need to revisit that dimension. It asks you to be vulnerable, to feel all that emotion that dimension carries, and that is okay. For you see, if you can move through that emotion, even though it may be intense, you'll find you'll move through it with more ease. It's about letting go of the resistance to those difficult dimensions, to the difficult emotions, and you will find once you let go of the resistance, that is by opening your heart and feeling the emotion, feeling the energy, that is when you can open the dialogue of communication and receive the communication, the soul lessons as to why that dimension is visiting you. And that is when you receive your clarity. That is an example of you using the two versions of you, the physical you and the spirit you, and using that to empower yourself in this physical reality. When it is dimensions of the future or parallel realities, it is the same. It is here providing you with messages. Do the same process, whether it's a dimension of you, a parallel you living in a parallel reality, wherever the source comes from, it holds messages for you. So be open, be present, and feel your way through to receive that clarity.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions today, dear ones?
I'd like to ask, I've had a bit of a struggle the last week. I had some serious problems with my teeth. I had to pull a tooth. But also I've been feeling this struggle that you talked about in the beginning, this struggle between the intellectual me and my old patterns and the new stuff. Just being present, just being loving when you can. Don't really know how to formulate the question, but I feel right now I'm stuck in a bit of a negative spot. I'd appreciate any advice on this.
We invite you to shift your perspective of being on what you call stuck in a negative spot. You use the word stuck. However, can you see the higher perspective of you being in that negative field of energy? You see, it's only normal. It is part of a automatic, we would say, reaction to when you feel negative emotion, to want to get rid of it or to see it as wrong. So you see, this is a nuanced aspect of your journey here, of your transmutation journey. So we encourage you to embrace, to see where you are as not being stuck, to see it as a necessary part of your journey, to get a sense of excitement of what's to come, to get a sense of faith. If you can get to the vibration of excitement, to be open, to show compassion for yourself, to shift your perspective and also cultivate the feeling of love, dissociating feeling of love that aligns to the frequency of love. Compassion is a path of least resistance when you are feeling negative, whether towards yourself or towards others. Open your heart and be compassionate to yourself and your journey. Can you be in this now moment and appreciate who you are experiencing this negative emotion? Can you shift your perspective to see how it is for you, even though it might feel unpleasant, uncomfortable? Understand this sense of being uncomfortable is only because the conditioned beliefs around what negative emotion feels like. You can get to a point where you can be in a point of bliss and still have a negative experience. It's about changing the narratives on the meaning that you place to negative experience and the feelings and emotions associated. Understand it. Everything that you experience is a blessing. Everything that you experience that's negative and fear-based is only an opportunity for you to expand your consciousness. So it's about shifting your perspective in the first instance to see this, to see the opportunity at present, to have faith that by you experiencing this, by you being willing to be vulnerable to this emotion, by you being willing to communicate with this version of you, you will expand your consciousness to a point far beyond you've ever experienced in this incarnation. Understand that you are a master, and only the masters experience such negative emotion. Understand that all of you, being born in this physical reality, you knew you were going to experience, we would say, this such contrasting life experiences and what you have called fear and love. And this contrast allowed you to have a level of, we would say, amnesia, spiritual amnesia in your terminology. You have forgotten who you are in your limitless power. And it is through the power of polarity, the fear and love, that triggers and catalyzes you in remembering the truth of who you are. So if you can see that these negative experiences part of this polarity system in play, the duality system at play, and this is how you expand your consciousness and the consciousness of the collective and the consciousness of all that is. You are able to get to the point where you can embrace negativity because you know it's a sign of how powerful you are, and you know that it is giving you opportunities to consciously expand your consciousness. And it's about you cultivating that compassion whenever you feel negative emotion arise. Cultivate that sense of achievement, knowing that you're experiencing this because you're ready for a new master level. So you see here, you can use your imagination, you can use your creativity in your thought processes to shift to the higher perspective, at the same time cultivating compassion. And then as you cultivate compassion, you can increase that frequency even further to even be excited with the thought of embracing negative emotion because you know the expansion potential that comes from it, you see. So use your creativity, process that negative emotion. If it's difficult for you to shift your perspectives in mind, shift your perspectives in written form, start to rewire your brain in terms of recording and writing down all the things that you are grateful for, all the things in your reality where you can see the higher perspective. So it's about conscious effort to rewire the biology in your brain, and that trickles down and vice versa. You see, everything is connected. So as you rewire the brain, you change the energy frequency in your vessel, and as you change the frequency in your vessel, that gives you greater technologies to then automatically shift the biology in your brain, and vice versa. So everything is interconnected, and it all starts from you being willing to be vulnerable, to appreciate the negative. Can you see here? It's not about you wanting to let go of the negativity or the limited self by seeing that as wrong or that is not preferred, because it is preferred in this now moment. If it's in your present, it is preferred because it holds messages, infinite intelligence that will give you clarity. So it's about seeing everything in your experience as preferred, as wanted. It's about just how you create meaning and how you relate to those experiences. And that is up to you. You are the God creator. So it's inviting you to be more creative in how you interact with these dimensions. Yes, you might be required to have some patience in rewiring the brain, in you, when you're triggered by negative emotion, bringing it back to the present by seeing the higher perspective, by you consciously opening your heart, feeling the walls of your heart open, using your creativity here, by you feeling love within your heart, compassion, gratitude, whatever it is, find the frequency of love in your heart and cultivate that. It is the practice of both technologies where you can transmute and understand the intelligence of each dimension that is here for your awareness, here for you to assist in you gaining clarity as to why you are here, and clarity, and giving you the clarity and basically the blueprint, the guide on how you can live your physical reality in the most empowered, highly aligned way.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions before we finish here today? Dear ones, understand just how powerful you are. Yes, you might need to remind yourself often, but understand it's about you being compassionate with your own journey. Yes, we understand that you shift your perspectives. You seek out the higher perspectives with yourself and your reality. But then at times you come back to the negative perspective, or we would say the limited perspective of how you see yourself and the world. But then the limiting cycle, we would say, becomes created, because then you cast judgment on yourself and your journey for falling back into that cycle. But we invite you to be compassionate in your journey and understand that this cycle, this pattern of falling back into fear, to falling back into limitation and limited perspective, is a part of the human experience. It's a result of the polarity within the vessel, the result of the wiring of the brain, the result of your intentions of exploring your reality through a duality lens. And it is through exploring this duality lens where you then remember who you are in oneness. But you can only remember who you are in oneness. It is only when you can embrace the lessons of duality where you can remember just how truly limitless and powerful and divine you truly are. You cannot escape the lessons of duality. This is the catalyst in remembering your power. So it's about you shifting your perspectives to polarity and being able to see it for what it is, that everything in your reality is preferred, it is wanted. And it's about you cultivating the energies of the heart to expand your energy field, to allow you to activate the technologies and tools to assist you navigate your reality in the most empowered way that you chose to explore here. You are the God creator. And it's time for you to access more of your God creativity. So practice this. Remind yourself of who you are and who all others are. And all others, that you are source. There is no separation. You are the universe. You are the planet. You are the stars. You are the cosmos. You are the energy code that creates all dimensions, all universes, all planets, and all that is. You are the code expressed in a unique vibration to allow you to expand your consciousness and the consciousness of all that is through the experience of polarity. And it is through love, it is through unconditional acceptance and unconditional love for yourself and all others and all things, where you start to activate more of that remembrance of who you are. Know that you are never alone because we are you. Every cell in your being is intelligent, for there is no separation. As you are spirit, that spirit resides in every cell of your being. You are intelligence. It is not void from you. You are infinite intelligence. And you express that infinite intelligence in a perception of physical form. Every aspect of you is intelligence. So open your heart, open your mind, and open your God creativity to explore and connect to infinite intelligence. That is you, that is all around you, that exists in all that is. And it is with the love that we come through to remind you of this information that you already know within you. And we invite you to explore this, to allow you to remember this for yourself in your conscious awareness state. Until next time, farewell.